she stopped and looked outside like it was the first time she's ever seen the world. And then she told me, she said, I just purged out my cancer. And then after she went home, she ended up going to the doctor and, you know, the cancer was gone.
Our story begins thousands of years ago, deep in the Amazon rainforest. The ancient legends say that the first instructions to make the ayahuasca brew came from the plant spirits themselves, who guided the Native American shamans to gather two particular plants together and combine them into a thick brew. Upon drinking this murky concoction, the shaman would then experience a transcendent perception of reality for the next 4 to 8 hours. A heightened level of sensitivity and connection to all things would overtake them, and they would have visions of geometric patterns, spirits, or supernatural formations that would unfold in the mind's eye. In this experience, they would even receive wisdom and guidance from beyond the veil. From here, the shaman would then use this heightened awareness to learn and gain knowledge of the world, and use this to guide their people so that the whole collective could thrive together in their little pocket of early civilization. To many in the world today, the story of ayahuasca's origin may seem rather far-fetched, because for the story to be true, we have to accept both that plants have souls and can communicate with people. Then again, there are over 80,000 species of plants in the Amazon rainforest alone. So how is it that these ancient people came upon such an unlikely combination to produce such a remarkable brew? Today, one of the most incredible mysteries in the world is the unique and mystical experience of ayahuasca. Growing to be known for its powerful role it can play in helping to overcome disease, addiction, depression, and anxiety, it's no wonder that in today's world, which is ever struggling with its varieties of sicknesses, so many are turning to shamanic plant medicines to see if it can be the answer they are looking for. But wait, hold up. We might be getting ahead of ourselves here. What exactly is this ayahuasca stuff anyways? Let's start with the basics. Ayahuasca is a brew, like a thick soupy drink created primarily from two plants, the leaves of the Psychotria viridis and the vine of the Banisteriopsis caapi. The Psychotria plant contains a large amount of DMT, a molecule produced by our brains in small amounts when we're dreaming, and in larger amounts both when we're born and when we die. This molecule is also found in nature, but generally has no effect on the human body when consumed. This is because our body breaks down the molecule with an enzyme called monoamine oxidase, commonly called an MAO. However, the vine of the caapi plant contains an MAO inhibitor, which allows the DMT of the Psychotria plant to pass through the stomach and into our bloodstream. When it reaches the brain, it causes an activation of the pineal gland, producing a state like lucid dreaming, except you don't have to be asleep in the slightest. This is, in a nutshell, the essential science behind what's happening with these ayahuasca journeys. However, the actual experience itself is something else entirely to behold. Ayahuasca is often described as a concentrated dose of nature, designed to help us reconnect with ourselves and the natural world. It illuminates one's consciousness, aiding any seeker to look deeper into themselves at the source of their trauma, disease, and pain, and helps them in healing these ailments from its source. From this state, we also then learn to perceive reality at deeper, more fundamental levels, and ayahuasca even helps in letting go of the personal identification with modern cultural and social systems in which so many of us have become trapped. It is for this reason that ayahuasca, along with its brother and sister plant medicines such as iboga and peyote, have become known today as sacred plant medicines, as well as great teacher plants. While many modern medicines today treat illnesses, depression, and the like on a symptom-based level, These master plants go deeper and allow anyone to dive to the root of their challenges and solve them for good. Illness, addiction, depression, and the like all fade away when our consciousness is illuminated, shining bright on the subconscious ego that is damaging us without even knowing it. What I personally find especially remarkable about ayahuasca is that once you experience it, the concept of the human soul, your own spirit, becomes very conceivable and directly experienceable. And it opens up a space of curiosity within you to try and understand it deeper. Of course, it's critical to note that this experience of ayahuasca only comes out when there is an intention to match it. For anyone who is familiar with the medicine today, it is well understood that these experiences are to be treated as sacred and with great reverence. It's very important to use it properly because ayahuasca opens us up to a dream state of connection with the world. And without the supportive energy of a shaman, it's very possible to become lost in the journey, which could even be damaging to the psyche. This is not to suggest that ayahuasca is inherently dangerous. No more than a hammer can be used to either build a house or smash a window. But truly, this medicine helps to teach us to understand that intention steers the reality you experience. Going into an ayahuasca journey with the intention of creating healing versus going in with the intention of just having a party will yield two very different experiences. Today, with thousands of testimonials of people having tried ayahuasca emerging all over the world, the results seem to demonstrate that this sacred brew can provide us with an experience of self-discovery, spiritual reconnection, and a healing of our hearts, provided that we use it in the right way.
Yeah, so my name's Ashish, I'm from New York, and this is my first time ever doing any plant medicine. Man, it was a ride. I'm still processing all of it. It's like a lot to take in, especially 4 nights in a row of ceremonies. I had been doing a lot of research, and a common thing that you'll read about ayahuasca is people experience their own death. And frankly, like, that was terrifying coming in. I was just like, I really hope I don't have to go through that, because that just sounds really scary. Like, that's kind of the primordial fear that we all have. So I went in the first night with the intention of asking Mother Ayahuasca to be gentle on me and to just kind of like ease me into it. Somehow she gently allowed me to experience my own death over and over and over again. And when I say over and over again, I just mean like for hours, just like I was dying and then being reborn and dying and being reborn. And if I was listening to somebody say this on camera before coming to do ayahuasca, I would just feel like it's the most terrifying in the world. But the weird thing is that it actually was like so incredibly peaceful. It was so sublime. My meditation practice that I've been doing for a long time really helped me stay mindful of the fact that, yes, it did feel like my body was dying or my thoughts were getting discombobulated. Kind of felt like just a letting go of everything that I know myself to be, which in retrospect I realized was really just an ego death. While it was like very overwhelming, I think somehow it was so peaceful and sublime, and every time that I did die and sort of cross over to the other side, I noticed that I was still there. On one level, like, I'm dying, but then I'd just be lying there and be like, but I'm still here, like I'm still conscious. And that was really fascinating because, just to share a quick story, like, my grandmother was actually dying in the hospital, and my whole family was by her bedside in India, my mom's mom, and I watched her die. I watched her pass away, like, on her bed. And I just remember her being so peaceful and calm, even though she was like in a lot of pain and was like coughing and wasn't doing great. And obviously all of us were really sad watching it, but she was so peaceful, and it always stuck with me. It was the first time I saw somebody just like go from alive to dead in front of my own eyes. I never understood how somebody could feel so peaceful, like, in that moment. Then on Monday night, I experienced that in myself. I experienced the peace of, if you can just let go and surrender, you realize that there is this infinite, timeless awareness behind your mortal experience on this earth as a human that is untouchable and is just full of light and love. And I realize as I'm saying this, it's like, might be difficult to understand having not gone through it. As I was dying and doing so peacefully, it made me think of my grandmother, and it made me realize that she was really at peace when she went. And that really helped me come to terms with her death and my own death. Obviously, I don't want to die. I want to still live and live a good, healthy, long life. But I'm no longer as afraid of death. And what I realized in the integration afterwards, which Rhythmia does a great job of, just helping you process these experiences is that this fear of death was actually driving all the other fears in my life. Just this constant undertone of anxiety with everything that I'm doing. And I just feel like a lot more peaceful and able to process difficult emotions when they come up, because I know that literally everything is impermanent, but the one thing that isn't is this loving awareness. Yeah, it was really powerful. It's something you read about in a lot of spiritual texts and Buddhist. I'm really into Buddhism and Hinduism. Kind of half believe it, like it sounds good, but part of you kind of doesn't trust it until you have an experience like that. So I'm just so thankful for the medicine and really happy and proud of myself for going through this experience.
To many, the ayahuasca experience sounds too good to be true. A magical plant drink that cures anxiety, disease, addiction, and improves overall quality of life across the board? Is this even possible? In this very movie, we're going to find out. Sit back, relax, and journey with me today to Costa Rica and see for yourself what happens when someone participates in a plant medicine ceremony. Now, when I arrive in Costa Rica, there's going to be so many amazing people to meet, I'm certain of it. But to make things interesting, I've invited my friend John to come along for the ride. We've been friends since we were only 11 years old, and he thought it sounded like a wonderful experience. So before departing, I invited him to the Spirit Science office, and we filmed some preliminary interviews for this adventure.
Well, I've only done mushrooms before, and I've gone camping and done them as a teenager, and also out at the cabin with some friends. We'll do that probably every summer, and then with you, we've done our ceremony before, and I found them to be really fun, and they very mind-opening experience, and they make my mind really wander.
The first psychedelic I actually really took was LSD on 11/11 of 2011. And that opened my eyes to so much more than I was ever really aware of. And it quickly just became like, I was like, okay, I have to try them all now. over the course of the years, I've had, several ceremonies, some with LSD, some with mushrooms, peyote and San Pedro. And it wasn't until Rhythmia until I tried ayahuasca. I want to evolve to the highest possible level that I can. Using the ayahuasca journey in this way will really help when I come back to this world and go to make more videos and go to do the work that I do in my daily life. And I really want to be able to take and absorb or learn as much as I possibly can so that I can bring that back to the world. Evolution, I think, is at the forefront of my mind in that regard.
I'm looking for self-reflection, and I'm going at it with an open mind. I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna experience, but I know it'll be something magical, change my perception, come back a different person. Maybe a little bit different, we'll see. I'm sure, mushrooms for the first time, I imagined one thing and it was completely different. So I kind of think this will be the same way. I'll maybe have some imagination, my mind will start to wander and try and figure out what it is. But I imagine once I actually, have the ayahuasca, it'll be a totally different experience than I imagined. So I don't know what to expect, but that's okay. I think that's exciting. Let's go on an adventure.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
The destination of our journey today is a place called Rhythmia. You might have heard of it. It's been growing in popularity the last few years with an endless stream of miraculous healing stories coming out of it. The whole space is beautiful, designed from the ground up and the top down to facilitate a deep, transcendent healing experience for anyone who goes there. Rhythmia features workshops, organic buffets, massages, colonic cleanses, the works. But of course, all of this is designed around these 4 potent ayahuasca ceremonies, each honoring a different tradition from different parts of Central and South America. When we first arrived, we went to the orientation workshop on Monday morning, and it was here that we got to meet Rhythmia's founder, Gerard Powell, though everyone just calls him Jerry. He begins the class with an introduction and tells us the story of Rhythmia. For most of his life, Jerry was a pretty mean guy. He struggled with some really nasty addictions and was cruel to everyone that he knew. There was even a time when he acknowledged his struggles and tried to correct his attitude towards the world. But despite getting help from world-class psychologists, nothing seemed to make a difference. Then everything changed when he was invited to Costa Rica to try a plant medicine called iboga. Iboga is another entheogenic plant medicine native to Central and South America, though it's worth noting that it's a very different experience than ayahuasca. Upon arriving at that retreat, Jerry was filled with doubts about this helping him at all. The shaman had him write down several of the most important questions he'd like to have answered, but even as he wrote them down, thoughts of leaving filled his mind. But before he could get a chance to duck out, his shaman invited him to take the medicine. Jerry looked at the shaman, looked at the medicine, and took it straight away. Then he followed the shaman's instructions to lay down and put on a blindfold. Once he acknowledged he was seeing visions, the shaman sat by his head and began tapping on Jerry's forehead. He spoke in a calm voice. "Jerry man, tell me when you see my finger." Jerry began to respond, "That's ridiculous. I'm wearing a blindfold. How could I possibly see your All of a sudden, he could see the shaman's finger tapping on his head. His hands shot up to his blindfold and was even more amazed to realize that it was still fully there, covering his eyes. I see it," Jerry responded, confused, and the shaman said, "Take a look at the ceiling." Jerry saw the ceiling of the temple through the blindfold, and the shaman commanded him, "Make it disappear." Within moments, Jerry watched as the ceiling vanished, and soon all that he could see were the stars in the night sky. "Pick a star and jump to it," the shaman instructed, and Jerry soon found himself leaving his body, shooting through the sky, flying into outer space. He heard the shaman again, "Can you see the moon?" Jerry turned and saw the moon. "Fly to the moon." Following the shaman's instructions, Jerry shot towards the moon until everything went black. A television screen appeared in his inner vision, one of those really old school TVs. It turned on and he saw two things. One was a text cursor, looking like an old MS-DOS screen. On the other side, he saw an image of the moon with two little feet sticking out of it. They were his feet, he realized, and after flying to the moon, he had actually shot straight into it and got stuck inside. "Hi, Jerry," the cursor typed. This gave him chills, and he soon discovered that he was talking to the spirit of the moon. Jerry learned that the moon could help him understand why he was so cruel, but he'd have to go and find his soul first, and so off he went. His soul appeared as a child version of himself and took adult Jerry on a journey through his past and showed him the roots of his cruelty today. As a young child, Jerry had suffered a horrifying abuse at the hand of a family member. The impact that it had on him was so intense that it disconnected him from the world and himself. This caused his heart to sour and then rot. His soul then guided him to face those responsible for his childhood trauma and to forgive them. This very act set the stage for everything to come because the forgiveness itself liberated Jerry from the pain of his past. After this experience, he was able to return to the moon. As he landed, he saw that the TV was there, along with a pair of hands. His shaman guided him to ask the moon for help. She pointed at his chest, and he knew he had to pull it open, and he pulled out his own heart. It was black and dead. Once again, the shaman guided Jerry to ask the moon for help, and she put her hands together and produced for him a new heart. He put it in his chest and closed it up. The moon typed, "I'll be seeing you, Jerry." And he said, "Okay," flying off back to his body. When he returned to the physical dimension, his shaman pulled off his blindfold and looked at him with a big goofy smile and said, "Happy birthday, man." And so, Jerry received a new heart, and for the first time since he was a boy, genuinely felt love inside. The next morning, he was a changed man, and he found himself acting differently than ever before. Normally, he wouldn't care about anyone around him, but he suddenly found himself talking to the other people at the retreat, learning their stories. He was amazed by the miraculous change that he'd experienced in just one night. Over the next year, Jerry did countless ceremonies. He tried the various shamanic plant medicines from peyote to ayahuasca, and through his experiences, he came to understand who he was and saw the bigger picture of the human story. Jerry was guided by the moon to abandon his existing business plans and to do something meaningful with his life. He would become an instrument of healing and was guided to create a space that would provide the highest quality of healing ceremonies he could and help raise awareness about the value of shamanic plant medicines. The moon told him where he would find the land to do it, what it would be called, and what it would look like. She also said that the best medicine to work with in a group setting would be the ayahuasca brew, and so this became the plant medicine for the space. All of the instructions flooded into his mind, and when he came out of his ceremonies, he went to work. Following the moon's guidance, he sold all of his worldly possessions and poured the resources he had into buying the land and building the place that would one day become the spiritual nexus called Rhythmia.
What I love about Rhythmia most of all is that it's a fusion, this beautiful fusion of this old shamanic tradition that goes back for thousands of years, fused with a modern, luxurious setting. You get to have the organic all-you-can-eat buffet, the very wonderful accommodations for your room where you sleep in, and then you get to have this very traditional shamanic ayahuasca ceremony that is just, it takes you back, and the majesty of the jungle and everything just takes you to this place of transcendent beauty and awe. And then when you finally come back, it's like you're not so far removed from the world that you came from. It definitely is a nice balance for anybody who's just sort of wanting to jump in but maybe isn't quite ready to like go as deep as you can into the jungle. And so it's a really good first step in that regard, and I really honor and respect what they've done with that space and that energy. It's absolutely beautiful.
I think was the second question I ever asked the moon was I asked her, what's the secret to happiness? And she typed out the word truth. And she typed it 1,000 times if she typed it once, all in a nanosecond. And at the end, like down this whole page, the last word was the word authenticity. And I read it and I said to her, I said, well, how do I become more authentic? And she said, stop shining a light on the things that you're not.
Going through an ayahuasca journey isn't always easy, but at Rhythmia, Jerry, the shamans, and the whole staff go above and beyond in supporting and preparing everyone for their journey and transformation. During his orientation, Jerry gives everyone an explanation of how an ayahuasca experience works. He describes that there are 4 main types of journeys. The first kind is called a body journey. Essentially, the medicine goes into your body and will identify what blockages are within you that stop you from fulfilling your healing intention. Then, it will help you remove those blockages through a process called purging. Now don't worry, purging is not as scary as it sounds. It's a very natural part of the ayahuasca experience where we release old, stagnant emotions within us. These energies can be released in a number of ways: laughing, burping, yawning, dancing, going to the bathroom, or even, of course, throwing it up. In order to explain why we need to purge in the first place, Jerry explains it with this analogy. Imagine the following scene.
Hey, turn that music off! F you, Dad! What did you just say?
I said I love you, Dad.
Damn right.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
When this event takes place, the boy here is essentially swallowing his emotional turmoil. All of the anger and frustration from this experience is pent up and sealed away inside. And don't be mistaken, there is sealed up pain in the father too. As the boy lives his life, experiences like this happen in a number of ways. Maybe there are bullies at school, his boss yells at him, his partner cheats on him. Whatever it is, these traumatic experiences build up over time, which paves the way for all manner of life problems. While these experiences may seem like temporary events, they have long-lasting roots that dig into our subconscious, silently affecting our thought process, our decisions, and even our health throughout our lives. So what ayahuasca does is help you pull up those roots, releasing the emotional trauma that was built up within you. And as mentioned, there are a number of ways this can happen. There have been a few instances where I've heard people say things like, "Oh yeah, I was yawning for an hour straight and felt so much better afterwards. Or even, I danced the night away and now I feel amazing. Then again, sometimes it can get pretty crazy. Personally, I've had my share of violent purging, to be certain. However, what I've learned is this: while it can sometimes be painful to go through, once that energy is out of you, healing and love quickly comes to those old wounds, and you are free from the pain forever. With all of that said, purging is only one of the 4 types of journeys. The second and third types are very connected. The second is called a pinta, which is where you begin to see visions. There's literally no limit to what you can see. Maybe it'll be swirls of light and color. People often see sacred geometry. You might even see people you know or animals you've had in your life. But if one of your visions makes contact with you and begins to talk with you, now you've moved to the third type of journey, which is called a consult, when the subject of your vision is now engaged with you in some form of communication. And now the final type of journey is extremely rare and is considered to be the most prized. It's called a nada. And what happens is that the medicine essentially puts you to sleep and you don't even seem to experience anything. The Colombian tradition believes that what is happening here is that the spirit of the medicine puts you to sleep to go deep through your ancestral lineage in your genetic history and repair trauma and huge events from your past lifetimes or those of your family bloodlines. When you come out of it, you may not have directly experienced any visions or purging, but you may suddenly find yourself knowing something new or feeling more evolved than you previously had. After these orientation talks, there is always much anticipation for the first ceremony. People are engaged in mindful conversations and thoughtful contemplations, preparing themselves for the journey to come. Soon, the day grew to evening, and the first ceremony was about to begin. People lined up in front of the maloca, ready for anything.
Tell us, how are you feeling before this first ayahuasca ceremony?
I am feeling, and that's what it is.
Pretty excited. I'm just scared. That's all I have to say. Just horrified.
Really great. Just had a cleanse and a shower and ready to get in contact with the divine.
Excellent.
I don't want to label it as excitement or nervousness or anxiety, but it's just rather ready to do it and trying to not have any expectations about what's going to happen. Just embrace it with my arms open.
No, seriously, I'm humbled. I'm nervous. I'm grateful, and I'm just ready. I'm just ready to go. Just ready to try it.
I just want to see what Aya has to show me and tell me, connect with Mother Earth.
Do you have any intentions or thoughts or questions that you're hoping to be answered?
No, I just want to. I kind of want to just go inside myself and just see what happens.
As a rule of Rhythmia and most Aya ceremonies, this is a cell phone and camera-free environment. The shamans sometimes make a joke saying, "We're here to meet God, not meet them on Facebook." Fortunately, there's no rule against animating an ayahuasca ceremony, so get ready for some more cartoons. Throughout the week, John and I filmed short interviews with ourselves and others, and when the week was over, we took a look back to see what we had captured.
Last night was great. I had a really fun time and kind of lost in my thoughts, but in a good way. A lot of really nice positive thoughts, reflecting on a lot of things that I love, a lot of people that I love, and I was digging the music, and I felt like dancing, but it didn't really feel like it was part of the night. But when the music really came on, it was really fun to let loose.
I never drunk or smoked prior to this. I never did any of that. So I went straight from being 100% sober to the mother. Monday we did breath work. I never did breath work like that. And what came out of me was this spirit of laughter. I was just laughing so hard. Fast forward a little bit, the first day was the craziest day because it revealed to me, it showed me how everything we process, everything we watch, everything we eat, everything we do becomes a part of us. And it showed me that because when I took the medicine, a lot of times they use breath. I guess, that's how they channel the spirits. After the drink, they say, whoosh. And within 10 minutes of me taking my first drink, I was out on the ground. And then that's when they started the music and dancing around and doing the chanting. And that's when they started the smoke. Instantly, I was out of it. And I saw them dancing around and I was like, oh Lord, shit, they got me now. They about to harness my organs. They done led me here. Yeah, and I ain't told my family about this. How did I let them set me up? That's the first thing. Instantly, what I first experienced was fear. I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, now I can't move. Now I'm stuck and I'm about to die. And I did die. I died over 1,000 times, man, and I couldn't get up. And some people call that sleep paralysis. But I couldn't get up. But I was kind of conscious of what was going on. I've never been drunk, but I can imagine what drunk felt like. And that was like fading out and can't move and just like, and feeling real sluggish. Something wanted to throw up, but it got stuck here. I can remember me beating on the ground because I was like, I gotta make it out of here. I went to hell, dude. I was in hell, man. I was in hell. I felt so much suffering, so much pain. And my girl, sometimes she had panic attacks. And I used to always think like, that's in your head, you just tripping. Why do you always act like that? But for the first time, bro, I went to a world that was nothing but pain, nothing but stress, nothing but loss of hope. And I kept beating. I felt my heart trying to pound and crawl out of that place, right? But I died. Every time I died, it's like the more I got conscious that it was happening. And I kept beating my chest, telling myself I exist, because I was getting lost in the agony and the pain, and it felt like it was going on forever. Your heart is burnt. Your skin is, your flesh is burnt, and it comes back and it's burnt again. And I literally went through that, and if I had a count on it, I would say 1,000 times. It's just agony. Time of the gods and time of us is different. So even though it felt like 5 minutes, dude, it was years. I've been in that place. It was 5 minutes on this physical plane. One of the things I kept saying I exist because I got lost in existence. I died so many times, dude, I lost my mind. What Mother was doing was killing that side, was detoxing that energy that I was processing and I was going along to believe true. One of the things, shout out to Amanda J-Ro. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna marry her when I get back home, bro. She was one of the things that kept me alive, bro. I got so lost in myself, man. It was so much agony. And one thing I asked Mother for, was compassion. But how can you have compassion if you never felt a level of pain, if you've never been through certain things, even on a vibrational level that others have been through, to be able to relate? And I felt so bad for how many times I left her in the dark and I shamed her about it. How I made her curl up. Not only did she have to battle in the spiritual world, but she didn't even feel safe on the physical world. And me as her man and looking at as the provider, I couldn't even be that for her. I was too immature to be that for her. And Lord knows I cried for her so that night. My soul cried for her, man. When I woke up, I was being taken through time. I was being pulled through time. And it was almost like I was being Jesus, I was being Buddha, I was being so much people. And it was like the medicine said, this is who you are. It was so weird. And then I remember doing like this dance and it was like, ooh, I come by, I come by. And it was like this beautiful African dance where I was this big dude and I didn't have too much clothes on. From that dance, it was like people saw me doing it. They walked by. It was like I was in a different world doing it. And they just came and hugged me, real tribal, and said, he's back. He's back. I cried so much, dude. Before this experience, I was a man that prided myself in being able to hold my own. And because my father told me men don't cry. But that's what happens at the split. Our ego creates this separate identity that allows us to live in the world that we're living in. I just recognized, bro, how strong and how hard they rose me to be in it and how insensitive I was to people and people in this world, bro. And now my heart is just so open, bro. When your soul and your ego dies in that way, bro, oh my gosh, man. And that was just the first thing.
I didn't have any feeling after the first shot until I had a first purge, which was going to the toilet. Came back and then I started feeling it, and the first thing that came to me was I was a bug, like a little bug, and then I felt like all this sensation as a bug in my body, and like, oh my god, I was looking at my hand like a bug, like everything. It was a great feeling. And then I felt all the wind and trees and plants, other bugs, animals talking to me, and it was a pleasant feeling. And then the next thing I realized was I became an animal. I don't remember what animal I was, but I was an animal, like hairy animal. Same thing, I was talking to the nature. And then another thing happened was I became a wolf. I remember that because I saw my children, my family next to me. It's like a husky looking wolf. I was in Siberia, like looking over the like stars and like at night on the snow. And then I realized I could be anything in the nature, like anything that's living. I can be any of this. It felt so good. And I had another purge, so I had to go to the toilet, so it kind of paused, came back, lay down again, and I became my boyfriend. I was him. And it felt so good and weird and like interesting, like, oh my God. I had a exact same hand that he has. I felt just like him, and I felt how much he loves me, which sometimes we doubt, you know, like, do our parents or my partner really love me? Sometimes, like, completely cleared. And then the next thing, I was Alberto. The really, really nice dude that we met. Like, I love Alberto, and I became him. I'm like, oh my God. I even had his accent, Peruvian Spanish accent. I'm like, oh my God. And then this came to me. I am you. I'm everyone. I'm anything in the world. And if I don't like something that other people do to me, it's because I have it in me. It's just me. All the good things, all the bad things, I have everything, and I'm one, and we are all one. That's the best experience I've ever in my life. And after that, my journey ended, and I felt such a good feeling, like, this is it, I figured. Yeah, that was my best experience ever in my life.
Mother Ayahuasca, the whole time, she was just sort of trying to get me to be still. And in a lot of the ceremonies, I just didn't move at all. I just stayed very, very still and very centered. And throughout all my life, from maybe being 5 years old or so, I'd been diagnosed with really severe anxiety and also depression. I found the depression pretty easy to manage, but my anxiety for most of my life was pretty out of control. And all my thoughts would always be very aggressive and intense and just constantly repeating. And after my first ceremony of ayahuasca, I felt so still. All my whole presence and everything in my body just was in a complete stillness. I can't even describe how amazing and how beautiful it felt to truly be still for the first time in my life. And it was just so amazing to have my anxiety cured in a single night after a single ceremony. So I think I've sort of changed, and I feel the ability, I'm able to be still and be present.
It began with a deep spiritual rebirth. There was this moment where I was split into two bodies. One was a very defeated masculine boy, and one was a dead body of a female. We were put into a pot by a great being and boiled to a crazy inferno that created all of this smoke that shot up. All of the energy of residual of those two parts of myself were destroyed and alchemically reconstructed into a new body. And then a being was over me, over this new body, and blew into my nostrils the breath of life. I emerged as an awoken new creature, as a new thing, as a new human. And standing over me were actually two beings. One was Thoth, and the other was Enki. And they were smiling at me, being like, welcome. Welcome to your new life. Enki left me in Thoth's care and went off, and Thoth and I stayed together for so much of the ceremony, and he guided me to be wise.
And I also had a lot of visuals last night. Like, I would take my glasses off and like things are blurry, but instead of just being blurry, those blurs would like turn into all these like really interesting geometries, which was pretty wild. And like, just like I start seeing that, and you start just like kind of, my mind would wander and start imagining all these things. And there's other visuals too last night. Like, there was one point where I was laying on a hammock, kind of just in awe by the stars, and I thought I saw this like bird fly, and then it just disappeared. And what was really neat is that after I told Shane about that, he was like, hey, I was out on the hammocks the same time you were on the hammock, and I felt like I was getting attacked by a bird. So it was kind of neat to have that connection of like, I saw a bird go by and it crashed into Shane, which is pretty funny.
I had an experience where my intention was about letting go. It was about, why do I always feel the need to like do so much or hold on to things or like want to do all this stuff. And halfway through the experience, I get this sharp pain in my back, and my back starts seizing up. I'm usually pretty comfortable with the medicine, but there was a point in this experience where it just kept getting worse and worse, and I felt like I needed help. And I remember saying, Jesus Christ, like my back hurts, and all of a sudden Jesus pops into my awareness, and I'm like, wow. And he wasn't like the Jesus you would expect with like, you know, robes and like the throne crown of thorns. He was like a cool modern day Jesus, and I was like, Jesus, is that you? And he was like, yeah, you know it's me. And I'm like, what do you ask Jesus? And I was like, what's it like to be Jesus? And I'm instantly taken into this experience where I'm being crucified on a cross, and my back pain is just getting more intense. But as I'm realizing, because at first I didn't realize what was going on, but I'm realizing as I'm ascending and I'm feeling this feeling, I can see a crowd of faceless people, but I can see their energy bodies, and I could see this feeling of nothing but compassion and forgiveness. That was the only feeling, and there was zero pain. There was zero pain. As long as my awareness was on that, there was zero pain. It was about totally letting go. And that was the teaching. And so then I think, did I meet Jesus? Did I experience what he experiences? But I think maybe not, who knows? What I do know is the medicine provided me that experience that I needed to understand what I was asking for. And that was the best way it could communicate to me, was by having that experience and seeing it was nothing but pure love and forgiveness and compassion. And then the same night I ended up meeting John Lennon and Buddha in this wild sort of change of events, but both of them had the same message. Buddha was just like, you don't get it, just let it be. It's just about let go. It's just about being, try to explain this in thousands of texts, it's the same thing. It's just let go. And John Lennon was like, let it be. By the end of that, we were all singing, let it be, meet Jesus and Buddha. And I was laughing. I couldn't believe what was going on. It was like a mix of like, I wasn't sure if this is my imagination or is this really happening? Or I'm like, am I creating this? Is this like a part of my imagination? And what I came to the conclusion was, it's all part of this learning that I needed to have. It was creating that experience that would be most impactful and memorable for me, right?
So was, after that whole thing, did your back still hurt?
No, oh, it was totally gone. Like yeah, no back pain at all. It was like, by the end of it, it was gone. Like, as soon as I started realizing what the teaching was, right? Where I was probably holding on to something before that. Oh, it was interesting.
It was a profound experience being here. I thought it was a vacation. I'm very, very overworked at work. And I said, I'm just gonna take a nice vacation in Costa Rica and relax. So when I got here, it was amazing. Everything was beautiful. I was feeling better already. And I was so excited to go in my first ayahuasca ceremony. So wrong. It is not a vacation, but it's so much better than a vacation. My first experience was terrifying, but I learned so much. My second experience was one of the most profound and mystical experiences of my life. I went past my comfort zone and I kept hearing the message say, you know, go to what's hard, don't go to what's easy. The universe rewards bravery. So I went up for a second drink and I knew that that was the thing I had to do, but I was so scared and so like weak. But I crawled and I knew I had to do it. I just crawled and I found my courage and I stood up in front of the shaman and I'm like, hey, guess what? You know, I'm not afraid anymore. And he looked at me and he goes, happy birthday. And he gave me my other drink. And I drank that and I thought that this has to be the cap of my experience. But it wasn't. It wasn't. It was a whirlwind of like ego beating. Throughout the rest of the ceremonies, I learned so much about humanity and what drives humanity and what exactly the earthly plane is. And on the last day was the purging day. I was a bit scared, but I knew I could handle it. I was kind of sick of really bad, like scary, intense experiences that I said I just want to have fun. And so I took the thing and I didn't purge for a long, long time until the shamans dusted me off with feathers in a circle and all of a sudden I could feel myself dying, I became so enraptured in everything all at once. It was so surreal. I couldn't stop it because usually before I just opened my eyes, but I couldn't open my eyes and everything was just death and dying. I fell to the floor softly, and then all of a sudden I started thrashing my legs around. They had to carry me out, and I didn't know what was happening at first. But then, I don't know what happened, but I was pinned to the ground, not by anyone, but by my imagination. And I started seeing through lights and lights and lights and lights, and my whole body turned to energy. And lights were everywhere, and I could feel someone orchestrating, like a shaman, a particular shaman, orchestrating my whole experience. And I felt my body being renewed at that time, which was amazing, and everything collapsing, expanding, collapsing, expanding, collapsing, expanding, and then going from one consciousness to the next, and every single answer in the universe was being revealed to me. One by one, I flipped over, another answer, flip over, another answer, flip over, another answer, and then everything was just connected, and everything had an order, and everything had a reason, and I knew that everything was connected. Nothing happened by accident. I was so certain about that, and I could feel all this love around me. That was me. And I could also feel like the shaman and his love, like guiding the whole process. So it was more like feeling of safety that I could experience this for myself. And when I woke up, I just felt whole, like completely whole and certain that I've ever felt in my life.
On plant medicine, on ayahuasca, I think the most amazing thing I've ever seen is the Castle of Divinity. It started out as a snake, and it turned into a woman that her beauty transcends description. And then from that, it turned into a palace. And in that, while looking at that palace, it showed how life works. A part of it was focused on the earth, and it was focused at the smallest minutia. And you could see people hating each other, and then it went up maybe at 10,000 feet, and then it looked a little different. And it keeps, the further you get away from it, the more peaceful it becomes. And it might look crazy, but it's perfectly orchestrated like an ant colony. I can't hurt you without hurting me, and I can't help you without helping me. And that the overriding glue that holds the whole thing together is love, even though it can look like so many different things. Even anger is a shade of love. And how there's this one soul that we're all from, and that anything that happens to us is even beyond good or evil. It's of this divine order. And even though it doesn't look, and I hate to talk like this because it seems fragmented and shit, but even the worst, most horrendous crimes are still under the arc of love. It's crazy to understand, and we're all playing our part, and it's up to us to decide when we no longer want to play the part that we were playing. We want to play something different, yeah. And then we move that, and then someone else moves into our. It's this crazy thing, dude.
After the whole week of experiences, we were amazed by the transformation that we saw take place. With every person we talked to, we heard stories like these, and were left in awe of the beauty and majesty of what had been created there in just 1 week. Throughout the week, we also made it a point to interview some of the Rhythmia staff and ask them about the nature of the work that they do there.
When somebody remerges with their soul, the change in their affect and the way that they're being is priceless. And I get to see that 60, 100 times a week. And to that person, it's the single most important story in the world. And that's why we treat each one of these people as if it were ourselves, yeah. Because once you do the medicine, you see that it is you. And it's easier to do that. It's easier to treat that person as an extension of yourself. And that's this whole place. What people say, you know, when they leave, they say, oh yeah, it was a pretty place and all that. But the real thing was the way that they were held while they were here.
So the breathwork and the plant medicine make a really good team. The breathwork can really help in a gentle way open us up to start feeling some of our feelings that maybe we've tucked away for a while, like maybe decades. And then introducing us into the plant medicine where things can get a little bit more intense. And then using the breathwork through your plant medicine ceremonies to really keep you calm and keep you centered. So when things get a little bit crazy, a little bit intense, a lot of things are coming up in the plant medicine, always returning to your breath to keep you in a calm, grounded place. And then we also like to end the week of ceremonies here with a more intense breathwork session. And it's amazing how it can really tie up loose ends for us. So things that have happened during ceremony and maybe there's a little bit of confusion or maybe a little loose ends, and the breathwork can help to pull that together. And it can also help you take some of those experiences back home. So it's a tool that you can use every day at home.
The late, great Terrence McKenna, he likes to say that the shaman is a mixture of the doctor, the scientist, and the artist. Somebody who has put themselves through healing and has gone through those situations and has done the medicine enough to that they can show that to other people as well. And there's a lot of shamans out there. If somebody has an inkling in their heart that they're a truth seeker, knowing that they're not alone in this world, never, you know, then there is a path for them. And the medicine really wakes us up to that, the shaman within.
The most amazing thing is the ceremony, and it's always just seeing all the love and the healing. It's always that. There's nothing more than that. It's just, I'm always blown away by just the pure love and the connection and the energy and the healing that that provides for everybody.
If you look around and you look at the nature of the trees, everything is it's in perfect order. It's always in perfect harmony, right? But us as humans, somewhere along the line, like we got out of that harmony, through going to school and learning about having a career and this and that. But like if you go to the jungle and you see how they live, like they live one with nature. They live in harmony. Right? So the medicine is helping us to remember that us too, as humans, we're nature. And bringing us back to that harmony.
The night that I merged back with my soul and was able to find a new heart.
What happened?
Well, after I put everything behind me, all my intentions, all the hate, anger, anxiety, depression, worry, judgment, resentment, all that stuff towards my father, which was one of the biggest causes. That was like one of the roots. And after my ego was just dissolved to its fullest, I saw myself as a little boy. We were holding hands on a cliff, looking out into the wilderness. Something asked me if I was ready. And that question to me was I ready to become one with that little boy again? And we went from holding hands to becoming one. After I became one with that little boy again, I found myself going through a jungle. This jungle is a place that I've always had in my mind, like during a certain meditation to get rid of anxiety. This time, as I was traveling through the jungle, I came upon a floating heart. I just grabbed it as fast as I could and held on to it. I just started buzzing with such an insane intensity. And something just told me to relax. And I could feel something at the top of my chest. And it was telling me that that was putting that new heart inside of me. I've never cried like that before. It was insane. But I loved it. It was everything I ever wanted. I no longer care about anything that I used to care about that would hurt me. It's like I've just put it all behind me. There's really nothing to worry about anymore, or at all. It's all so beautiful. I just, before, chose to not see the beauty. But when you do see the beauty, it overrides all the negative things in this world, it seems. I just feel free from everything. I feel Rhythmia was the key to everything. Just brought everything together. Without it, I'm not sure if I would be able to complete the process. So I appreciate everything that has to do with Rhythmia, all the people I've met, all my friends. I've also never felt a love that I feel here before, and that's beautiful. I'm excited to take that back with me.
At the end of the week, there is a closing group workshop designed around the process of reintegration. After entering such a high vibrational state, going back into the world you came from can be a little challenging. Fortunately, Rhythmia provides excellent support for the people going back to their homes and their lives.
There is this adjustment period and how it works. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the moon told me, so I said to her, I said, well, why did I feel like I didn't think I wasn't sure if I got it here. And then when I was over here, I got this feeling that I got it. And she said it comes down to worthiness. That in the first, after you get it, there's this worthiness thing that you go through, that am I worthy to hold this? And I asked her, I said, how long does it last? And she said, you can't undo it. You can only re-screw it. You can't undo the connection. You can only screw it up again. And she also said that at last, if you keep this clean, that even death does not take it away from you.
When you take the medicine, you may come out with a deeper knowing about the importance of meditation, eating well, daily spiritual practice, and things like this. Going back to the world, it's important to keep up our spiritual efforts in order to maintain our higher vibration. Otherwise, it's possible to fall back to a denser state of being with poor habits or being unengaged with yourself and your life. However, even despite this, after just 1 week of these ceremonies, we hear overall that there is more faith, more knowing, and more connectedness than ever before. Even if some old habits return, which is entirely on us, there is this deep knowing that everything that happens in our lives is all a part of some bigger picture. And in this way, we learn what it truly means to be connected to everything.
That society screaming for somebody to see the truth, capital T truth. So instead of getting entrenched in it, we try to see possibilities. Then, as you just said, we ask, what is it that's mine to do that will alleviate suffering? And so everyone here can't do the same thing because everyone has different gifts. Everyone can't do everything, but everyone can do something. So we have to ask, what does my gift allow me to do? You pull out from the undertow. You hold a high space, and then you ask, what is it that's mine to do? And as an artist, that's what you have to do. You have to speak of possibility, you have to speak of vision, you have to speak of purpose, you have to speak of the next stage, the answer that's trying to happen. One by one, two by two, we come together to create that field for the emergence of the next stage.
After we returned home from Rhythmia, a week later, I invited John to the office and asked him a couple of in-closing questions.
Ending with the sun coming up was a surreal experience, but I think having such a long night and, really having the medicine kind of compile over the few days inside of me, I was super introspective. I felt like every night there was more and more visuals. So I was seeing lots of really interesting patterns, lots of colors on things, and just kind of taking a new look on things and really coming to terms with some things. And I would say not even just the fourth night, but the fourth night capped it off. But I do feel like after all of that, I'm a better person. After this experience, made me really sort everything out in my head. If there's anything I was kind of doubting about, maybe what I want to do in the future, and I mentioned already what makes me happy. It really kind of sorted it out. It put things in a very clear lens. So I kind of really sure about what I want to do and just how I want to live my life, and I think that's probably the best way to put it. It really helps put things in perspective. Yeah, it really it's like a jam-packed mega reflection therapy session on your brain and stuff. It was wild, man, and the visuals. Yeah.
As for me, when I came home, I found that my evolution experience was only just beginning. There was a shift within me. For so long, I'd been playing the role of a kid who makes videos on the internet. It was a role I'd been playing for so many years now. That was my comfort zone. But after this trip to Rhythmia, the professional within me came alive. I realized that in order to truly live my dreams of having a large video production studio and creating spirit centers across the world, it was time for me to step up into a higher place of leadership and responsibility in my life. With this newfound evolution, the people in my life began to change too. I naturally began to attract other conscious and spiritual experts who could help me grow and take spirit science to the next level. At the end of the day, this was the evolution I experienced, and it's still going on even as I make this movie. But really, one of the most humbling lessons I've learned above all else is that it's not about me. It's about all of us learning and growing together, healing together, and a massive change for all of humanity. This is a story about my last ayahuasca ceremony. I believe this story is meaningful for a lot of us in many ways, and so that's why I'm called to share it with you today. Now, jumping right into the first ceremony, about an hour after drinking the first cup, I had not seen anything so far, but I began to feel this discomfort in my belly. It grew from discomfort into painful, and soon there I am writhing in agony. And I'm not receiving any clarity on what's going on. I'm just in a lot of pain. The spirit of Mother Ayahuasca, who is the spirit of the earth, was with us that night and saw that I needed help, sending one of the shaman helpers to come and see me. This was an amazing man, and he brought his magic in full, using prayers, blessings, and lotions to help. But when he was done, the pain had not departed. He then told me that he learned he was not strong enough to solve this for me, and I had to pray to God. And so I prayed to God with all my heart. After maybe 10 minutes, God's representative appeared. He was like the harbinger of the supreme creative power, appearing as a mega ultimate super being who I understood to be the sun god, Ra, complete with anime-like super armor. I mean, if there was ever an anime level sun god in existence, this was him. And now suddenly we're in a big Hollywood movie. Gosh, I hope the action scenes are good. The super titan Ra then sends this gigantic chain whip straight into my belly, which latches onto something. And this freaking hulk of a god starts drawing out something incredibly dark and incredibly evil. As a point of credit to the weight of the psychic attack anchor, even with all of his power, it took Ra a long time to pull it out. And so as I'm watching it being pulled from me, the more I begin to understand what is happening. You see, this was not just any ordinary psychic attack anchor created by your average spirit or malevolent wizard. The way it worked was this. This anchor was entirely invisible and undetectable to me, and would supply my mind with exactly the right ingredients for a healthy mindset of self-loathing, feeding me thoughts and actions with the intention of having me completely ruin my own life for me. So anyway, I'm starting to understand this, and eventually Ra gets this thing out of my belly, and I watch as he hurls it into the surface of the sun. Then he takes this gigantic megaton hammer and begins smashing it over and over and over against the surface of the sun with all of the strength of heaven. And this goes on for some time. If you were to see the whole thing in fast motion, it would probably look like... Seriously, it made Sauron's Ring of Power seem like that thing was made out of salt in comparison. After about an hour and a half, the anchor cracked and it began to dissolve into the sun. And while I felt better, something was still off. And the next day of ceremony, it was revealed to me that this anchor had a trap built in. If ever it was removed from my body, it would eject a part of itself that was more like a liquid than the solid form of the anchor, a black goo, if you will, and continue to manipulate me from the inside. I spent 2 days fighting this thing like the Venom symbiote, except this one didn't have a sense of humor.
Like a turd in the wind.
And in this battle, I saw where this thing had come from. I had been targeted all the way back in 2012 on a night that I accidentally ate too much of a cannabis edible, which was very concentrated, but that hadn't been disclosed. So I ended up getting very paranoid that night, and I passed out in one of those basements that only had concrete and pipes all over the place. It was very freaky. And when I finally woke up, it was 2 days later. It was in that void space that the anchor was planted. So I'm there in ceremony, evicting venom from my body in every meaning of the phrase, and I'm beginning to get this understanding. Through me, this anchor wreaked havoc on my life. There were times where I published videos that I really shouldn't have. I got myself into partnerships, personally and professionally, that were unhealthy or even dangerous to be a part of. and said things about myself that were not true and caused so much damage, leading to a lot of bad energy swirling around me and building up some serious karmic debt. But you see, under the surface of what actually was seen by the public, I created for myself these situations where I would continually screw myself over and over, costing money, time, and the respect of the people around me and those who had been enjoying my content. I listened to mentors and guidance that really wasn't wise for me to listen to. I trusted people who only wanted to be around me for money, and through my own ignorance, I beat myself down with a kind of mental self-flagellation as if it was my default mode of thinking. But the biggest help I ever got was going to Rhythmia enough times to be able to release myself from this evil thing once and for all. After all 4 days of ceremony, at last, the last of it was gone. My soul could breathe again, but there were a few more giant messes to clean up. The one inside myself and the one outside myself, which of course reflected each other. You see, all of the self-negative habits and thought patterns were left behind, in the same way that if you make an anthill and then evict the ants, the pathways still remain. I still lived with certain habits and ways of thinking about myself until I finally reached a point where my soul transcended, and I started actively rewriting all of them more consciously and making significantly better choices. And though, part of the reason that led to the making of this video was this. In addition to the internal mess, there has been an external mess left behind from all of this in the collective consciousness fields. In the past few months, I've been facing all of this. I really faced the wrath of God with experiences of serious heaven fire raining down upon me from the fury of the Lord for not representing the light of a higher consciousness on earth as it is in heaven, and even using myself as a visible punching bag in the world, giving people ideas about me that were rooted in self-sabotage. But then, God was also merciful upon me. He saw what had happened and had mercy on me in the truth that I myself wasn't wicked, but there was evil afoot and now it had been destroyed. And what's more, I wanted to do whatever I could to clean up all of the messes that I've played a part in making. I see now how this psychic attack anchor really got the better of me. And speaking to that for just a moment, I want to be very clear. It's not my intention to play the victim card or obfuscate responsibility in any way. I really know that regardless of what damage was caused through me, I'm responsible to clean it up. A big part of cleaning it up is telling you this story, because it's not just my story. And in my heart, I received, you must surely tell this story, lest it only be meaningful to you. In the past many years, I've had a lot of people come and ask me about psychic attacks, and I never knew what to say before. Maybe this story exists so that we can start to take the conversation seriously as a collective, because I didn't really used to. I didn't understand the gravity of it. And now, wow. I mean, I've seen some things, man. And there's an undercurrent to human consciousness that needs both love, healing, and the purifying fires of the supreme divinity. So definitely we'll make more videos about this in the future. But for this moment, I think just sharing this story and holding a space of understanding, healing, and forgiveness with you is where I'm called to begin. I stand for truth, love, and authenticity, and from henceforth, I always will. I love you so much. Thank you for watching.
We're not doing this for the same thing that motivates most people to start a business, right? So our initial motivation is different. Because of that, growth is not a real high priority to me. I want to always get better at what we're doing, you know? So if it gets a little bigger, it gets a little bigger. What I'd really like to have happen is it to become a huge success. And so other people open them up, not me, so that other people open them up all over the world, that this thing does so well. And when I say so well, I do mean financially, but I also mean that the healings that occur are so deep and so many that people in conventional medicine and government has to say, look at this, look what happened here, and then starts a movement away from traditional healing centers, more to centers like this, where they're not just giving you a pill to not have a headache for a day, but removing that headache for the rest of your life. Like this is real. This is really real.
One of the most memorable things is there was a woman who was purging a lot, and then after she was done purging, I was there for her, got her some tissue, give her a sip of water, and then she wanted to go out and watch the stars, be outside, so I helped her outside. And then she stopped and looked outside like it was the first time she's ever seen the world. And then she told me, she said, I just purged out my cancer. And then after she went home, she ended up going to the doctor, and the cancer was gone. And then she still comes back and she still does more work, because there's always more healing to do. The medicine isn't just a doctor, but she is a teacher, and there's always more healing, revealing, getting back to who we truly are.
The importance of plant medicine is that we're moving into union with a consciousness, with the energy, an energy and a union that we have lost, right? In 1850, Wordsworth writes, "The world is too much with us, getting and spending late, and soon we lay waste our powers. Little we see in nature that is ours. We have given our hearts away, a sordid boon." Right? This is the connectivity that the plant provides us. We get back into the connections and rhythms of life and nature. We see the truth of something beyond what we see with the eyes and ears. What Reverend Micah would say, we see the invisible. We hear the inaudible. And it allows us to do the impossible. Right? That's really the connection of plant medicine.
In the simplest form, I think most people are run by their subconscious mind. And most people are in a fight and flight state most of the time because of society, because of work, the way we're brought up, and we're so lost. And when you have an ayahuasca experience, it peels back all these layers at once, so you can really see the true essence of yourself and what's really important. And it gives you that opportunity to then make changes. Ayahuasca is not going to change your life by itself. It'll give you the opportunity to change your life. It'll present that opportunity to you, and a place like this gives you all those other support mechanisms, the cleanses, the classes, the breath work, to really give you that push and opportunity to make those changes. And then it's up to you, the lessons that you learned, how you can integrate that into your daily life now, once you step off this place. And there's also amazing tools that really provides for that too. But the ayahuasca in general will do that. It makes you really want to support nature, to give back, to sort of connect with people. And that's what's gonna make the world a better place, people opening to that awareness of what their true nature is and who they really are. And the more people that can do that, it's happening. Like ayahuasca is spreading across the world right now. Plant medicine is coming into the awareness because I think the planet is raising the vibration, saying, hey, we need to sort of wake up here, because we can change things like that if everyone is on board saying, hey, let's change the way we operate, let's change the way we treat each other and the planet. And I think ayahuasca is one of the greatest opportunities as a catalyst for change.
Yeah, I straight up believe that anyone would benefit from going to Rhythmia. Or at least doing ayahuasca, having that kind of ceremony. And I think it's super important that it's in the right setting and you have the right people, the right shamans or caretakers helping you through the experience. But I think anyone would help from therapy, and I kind of see it the same way, but it's almost like super therapy. So I think the world should do ayahuasca.
So, where do we go from here? Rhythmia is available to you right now. If you're ready for this, click the link in the description and take action now. When you take action, you pave the way for the whole world to heal. And that's real. Your own shift and healing has an enormous effect on global consciousness. Ayahuasca has made that clear. That's how connected we truly are. Now, you might be thinking, I can't afford it. And if that's the case right now, it's okay. Let me show you how you can, because the key is within you. Instead of saying, I can't afford it, which is limiting, ask yourself, how can I afford it? Which opens the door of possibility for your own energy. Have faith and be patient. Rhythmia is a part of a much bigger picture for all of us. And if you set your intention to make it happen, there's nothing that can stop you. I've met people of all walks of life at Rhythmia. There was even a 19-year-old pizza delivery boy who saved up his money for several months to go, and he said it was the best decision he'd ever made. So I stand with Jerry in hopes and dreams that one day, places like Rhythmia will exist all over the world in abundance, And the world leaders with power over social systems will see the value without question. I mean, really, what would happen if these guys were to try it?
Before I came here, my sisters never let me touch them. I would always kind of try and hug them, they'd be like, go away. And like coming here, by the second day, I received the most hugs I've gotten from them in as long as I can remember.
It was almost what they call a nada. There was not much happening, but there was a lot happening. I could feel that the medicine was working. There was a few subtle visions and things like that was helping me to see a little bit deeper into the fabric of who I am and what's been going on. But at the same time, it was more about being able to be present to the gratitude of life in general, just being open to love, open to gratitude, open to grace, open to bliss. At the end of the night, there was like sort of a purge that, and I asked what that purge was for, and it was just to purge those toxins from my system that are not serving me or my life. And today I actually feel clearer, even though I didn't get a lot of sleep or anything like that, but I feel more clear in my being, which is pretty awesome, considering that, you know, I never would have anticipated something so simple to have such an interesting effect on the following day's consciousness and feeling and that sort of stuff. So day one was pretty cool. I'm very grateful and humbled. I asked for gentle and I got gentle. So
we as a species we're coming now into glimpsing, like so many people have started to receive similar things throughout their ceremonies, but we're starting to come to a point where we're receiving this deeper understanding about how everything works. You know, we have this perspective through science and through our religions and stuff of the way that the heavens and the world and the universe operates. But it's so much more intricate and magical than we can possibly understand at this point. But through experiences like this, through deep meditation, through plant medicine ceremonies, we're starting to get glimpses of something bigger, something beyond, and activate our DNA. And with this higher activation, it turns on something within us. It changes us to be able to see and know and receive higher truths beyond anything we've been able to know in the last 13,000 years. And that's so amazing.